Hello, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining to this lightning talk. It has been a while since I did an Android talk, and I'm really excited to be here. So from the lights, I see some, even though we have the lights, I can see some familiar faces, but I'm really curious, just to see, how many of you have I met before? Can you raise your hands? Nice. That's perfect. I was expecting that. That's why I have this slide. I am Salih. It's really great to meet you all. I have been living in Berlin for 7 years now. I work with AWS. I work as a developer advocate for a year there. Before that, I was doing a lot of mobile development. And basically what I do is, at AWS, I try to help the Android and Flutter teams to, improve their reach and create sample apps and just basically make an impact as much as I can. I'm a huge fan of everything related to software. I can talk about anything. I get excited easily with anything related to software. So today I will talk about Accompanist libraries. How many of you have heard of these libraries before? Nice, nice. I hope I can tell you something new about this one, because I will be honest, the idea of this talk is to talk to you about Accompanist libraries, what is the current situation, show you how they work in a simple way, and at the end of the talk, we will go through, what are deprecated, what is the future stuff. So, a bit history. The problem, the solutions always come after the problem, right? It's the logical way to do it. So, if you want to create something, you need to have a need for this one. So, the need was, there was additional functionality required to create apps on the Compose side when Compose was not even alpha, but actually it was on the go. And I'm sure a lot of us had this kind of questions, many times you need to see, hey, how can I do this? How can I do these simple operations? And it doesn't change. We always ask these questions. So what they did is they said, OK, let's create a library in the meantime and try to keep everything together. This way, what we are going to do is we are going to save ourselves from trouble of having, waiting for something to land, and at the same time, they could be able to create some sample apps. But after a while, it became even better that they decided to move these libraries to the Google ecosystem. So when you look at it, Accompanist is the libraries that has been created by, right now, it's worked by the open source maintainers and the Google team. It is a lab environment for trying out new things, and most likely, they are bringing in the resources that you most likely need in the project. The reason that they have this one is that Android ecosystem itself is moving forward, but sometimes it is becoming slower, and something landing inside it can take a lot of time, can take a lot of efforts, and so on. So that is why they wanted to do something extra. That is why they wanted to have some freedom as well. This is a lab environment, so please keep in mind that everything that you see here may or may not land in. But at the end of the day, what I've seen so far while using these is that they have graduated, per se, into the Android X libraries, and it was being able to use. So far, if I didn't count that wrongly when I was a bit tipsy last night, it looked like there were 22 libraries have been so far with all the subcategories for Material 3 ones and regular ones. And out of 23, 6 of them have been deprecated or graduated, and 16 of them are still out there. They are ready for you to be used. The 4 of the ones that are being part of Compose right now is, I think, really cool, is 4 of these. So Flow Layouts is actually the library that made me introduce to the Accompanist library. So, but besides that, there was swipe to refresh part, there were insets and page layouts and so on. So we are not going to talk about, of course, deprecated libraries. Today, I will show you the ones that I find really useful. I put them into an example project, so you can check them out later on GitHub as well. One thing, I will take you through a couple of things that I find really useful, so you can see it as well. The first one is System UI Controller. If you remember the first slide, the problem slide that I've shown you, at least for me, was one of the most common things that I do. Always like, OK, can you put the XML there? Like, we don't keep that in mind. So always we try to keep it into a place that, like, copy and paste. System UI Controller is giving us a way to easily create system UI operations like the bottom navigation bar or like status bar that we have on Android. For using them, you need to get the library. One thing to keep in mind here is that the version is not stated here. The reason is that since this is a lab environment, they have multiple versions for multiple libraries. So whatever Compose version that you have, you need to use the library that comes according to it. You can see it in the documentation as well, or later on I will share the link too. You need to pick the latest one that suits you the best. So if you're on the latest version of the Compose libraries, the version for you is, for example, 0.31.4, I think. So let's see how you can use this example. For using that, what you need to do is, first, you need to create an instance of the system controller. The system controller is the value that you're going to be using to control the different parts of your system-related UI. One thing that we are going to do here is that first we will change the system color into what most common use case, which is turning it to transparent. The other part that we are going to do now is actually turn it into something really off. So if you run this example, you can see that, for example, when I click on the transparent one, it will turn that into transparent. If I click on the red, it will turn everything to red. And let me run this again. And you can see that it also gets the icon colors that I defined for them too. Because in the code, in the first one, I said, OK, for the theming, go with the theme. But for the red one, I said, no, don't use the dark colors. Use the white one. So you don't have to always go with the theming. You can also go with whatever you find useful. The second library that I want to talk about with Accompanist libraries is WebView. How many of you have used WebView and always have problems before? Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. This feels like a support group. Hello, my name is Salih, and I used WebView before. So it's like this problem has been always there. And especially with the Jetpack Compose coming, we are getting used to the things becoming easier. I'm sure you all feel that way as well. It's a really fresh set of air that we take after long years of XML and so on and so forth. Some of you might like it. I'm sorry, I don't want to break your heart. So with the WebView, we always have the trouble as well. And since the people who make these are also developers, they had these problems too. So they decided to create a wrapper around the classic WebView. And they wanted to give us a chance to create it in the Compose way. For that purpose, what you need to do, again, get the library like you would do with the previous system UI controller one. And you need to give the version of the library, as I said, according to your Compose version. There are two ways to use this one. This is the most classic one. This is the easy one. I will show the custom one as well, so no worry about it. So this is the most basic one that you will create. First, you will create a WebView state. And with that WebView state, you will be able to control the state of your application or state of the URL, whatever you want to do. And once it is loaded, you will also have a callback to define the settings of your browser or WebView as well. You can enable JavaScript and so on. But this is not enough. The reason that it's not enough is that I will show you one video now. So this is the complex example that it is. That there's an address bar now. When you click, it goes to the page and so on. But right now, I will go back behind the scenes. You don't see that part, and actually turn that into the classic one. And when I restart the application, you will see that I will not have any indication of this WebView is loading or not. You can see that it came out of nowhere. So that is why I would not recommend you to use the classic one that much. It is super easy to show. But if you are going to use the real one, I want to show you the code for this. Like I said, also, I will share this showcase app on GitHub, so you will not be just only seeing. Let me make this a lot bigger. You will not be only just seeing the 4 things that I'm going to be showing. You will also see the other libraries like adaptive design and so on and so forth. So everything that you've seen, let me go back up here. Everything that you've seen on Accompanist libraries, they are actually composed libraries. They are not something magical, like you will be able to use them. So what I had in the example of the custom one is we had a outline text view, we have the button, and what we want to do was like we want to go to the next site. And the first page we run is still here, the Google one, but I changed it into Droidcon and was able to change. One thing that I want to one thing that you see here is that like everything that we do here, it is classic compose. But if I go down, you can see that first, from the state of the web view, I can see if it's still loading or not. And according to the loading state, I can show another composable function, because every callback, when they happen, I have a reference to it, and I can change my UI and do everything accordingly. The next thing that I do is I also have a couple of other callbacks or a couple of other overridden functions that you can have. If you want to have a callback on the page started, then you can get that information. In here, we only have a log to just say that, hey, this has started, but you can use all of these callbacks in your use case to make your browser experience more rich. And only thing that you need to do is first you need to give the web, you need to let your web view know that the web client that you will be creating is the one that you use, and the navigator that you control will, the navigator that you have will be controlled by you. And lastly, the state from before that helps you out to check out the loading state and everything is happening here too. You might be asking, why didn't you put that to slide? The reason is that there's so many code, I don't want to put 600 different code to show you. They're actually related. Okay, now that we've seen like how the custom one is working, you can see the linear progress indicator is working and so on. Let's talk about my favorite. This is literally my favorite one, because every time that I need to do something, especially during the times of the development, I want to see how much place that it takes and so on and so forth. And it became really useful for me to have instances of the things that I would like to use and show on the page without having extra information. So placeholder actually is an amazing thing. It's a modifier. It's not a composable function itself. It's actually a modifier. It's part of the modifier. So how you use it is, first, like usual, you need to have either the library references. You can have a foundation version, which is the classic version you would have with Material 1, or you will have the Material 3 version if your application already supporting that. For using it, you can use it with any widget, anything that you have. For example, for the text composable function, for the modifier, you can just write placeholder. And placeholder visible true is going to make it visible. So you can also create a variable and control it with that according to the loading states and so on as well. Also, you can have a different types of highlight. You don't just have to have a grayed out thing. You can have a shimmered version, you can have fade and so on as well. For having different versions of it, you can also just say that, hey, change the highlight, and this is the highlight type. It will take care of it. For example, it works with external libraries like Coil as well. With the async image, for example, it is working fine, and with the modifier, you can just say shimmer, like a placeholder with shimmer, it will work fine, or you can even do fade, and it will work out fine. So if we run the following code right now, and you can see that when I click the first one, let me see if it can be visible. Yes. You can, especially with the image, you can see that sometimes it's just like, let me rerun this one. It just like makes a nice waving effect and so on, and this is the actual information that you will be using in your apps anyway. It will also have a nice fading effect too. It can't see it, but as I said, I will share the GitHub link anyway, so you can run it on your device to see it really, or later I can show you on my computer as well. Last thing that I want to show you is the bottom sheet. I don't know what you think about it, but for me, still is one of the most complicated things in the beginning was Like when I look back, it was still bottom sheet. Like putting it into the navigation library and like making it part of my navigation system was a bit challenging, at least for me. So this library helps you to integrate bottom sheet directly inside your navigation flow. So what you can do is, again, add the navigation of your Accompanist navigation library, because it doesn't just show the bottom sheet, you can show anything else as well. But what you need to do is, first, you need to say, OK, remember bottom sheet navigator. Why is it important? Because you need to wrap up your bottom sheet into the scope of where it should be shown. And once you wrap that, you need to wrap it with model bottom sheet layout tag. Once you do that, in your navigation system, instead of composable, if you write bottom sheet and the path of your navigation destination, it will be automatically be part of your navigation system. So once you decide to run that, when you click on it, you can see that it starts off at one point. You can move up, down, and you can see that you don't need to put anything at all. It automatically gets the previous placeholder that we had. So it already has a lot more things, like, for example, theme adapter that you can use for both Material 3 and other stuff. You can have test harness. There is one drawable painter that is really useful. If you have any drawables in your Android system, then you can just call it directly thanks to this painter. That being said, thank you very much for listening to me. And I know that you have used Accompanist before, but I hope that it gave you a bit of overview and what you can do as well. In this QR code, you can find all the socials, GitHub, and everything that I have, and I will share. I already shared, but I will share one more time again in the evening the links of the source code as well. So thank you very much, and yeah, I'm on time. Good. Yeah, thank you.